My name is Natalie. I'm 34. Last Tuesday at 7:47 p.m., I was standing in the private dining room of restaurant Jean Jour, watching my stepmother Sylvia toast my father's 62nd birthday while wearing my dead mother's diamond bracelet, the one she'd supposedly lost 3 years ago. And I realized she'd been stealing from us the entire time. To Richard! Sylvia raised her champagne glass, the bracelet catching the candlelight. 62 years of making brilliant decisions. Well, mostly brilliant. She laughed, and everyone joined in. Everyone except me. Some decisions took a bit longer to correct, didn't they, darling? My father smiled. My half-sister Malene giggled into her napkin. Her husband Jamal checked his phone. Natalie, sweetheart, Sylvia turned to me with that snake oil smile. You look confused. Is the menu too complicated? I know you're more accustomed to simpler fare. The table went quiet. 14 relatives, 2 business partners. The restaurant owner who'd known my family for 30 years. I'm fine, I said. Are you, though? Sylvia leaned forward, her voice dripping with concern that wouldn't fool a child. Because Malene mentioned you've been asking questions about the Hamptons house again. Still can't accept that your father needed to make financial decisions without consulting you? My hands tightened around my water glass. That's not... It must be so hard, she continued, watching from the outside while the real family handles important matters. But that's what happens when you waste your mother's life insurance money on a degree nobody uses. How much did we spend on that accounting program? 60,000? 70? 47,000, I said quietly. Right. And now you push papers in a cubicle for what, 42,000 a year? She took a sip of champagne. Your mother would be so proud. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. Let me back up 6 years to the day everything started falling apart. It was April 9th, 2020. I was 28. I'd just gotten home from my entry-level position at Morton and Associates. Yes, actually pushing papers in a cubicle, when I found my father sitting at the kitchen table with a woman I'd never met. Natalie, this is Sylvia, Dad said. His voice had that careful tone people use when they know you're not going to like what comes next. We've been seeing each other for a few months. I wanted you to meet her. My mother had been dead for 13 months, pancreatic cancer. She'd fought for 11 months after diagnosis. Dad had been her primary caretaker, and I'd watched him hollow out into someone I barely recognized. It's lovely to meet you, Sylvia said, extending a manicured hand. She was 46, blonde, a real estate agent who specialized in luxury properties for discerning clients. She'd sold Dad the office building for his dental practice 2 years earlier. I shook her hand. Nice to meet you too. What I didn't know then, Sylvia had been sleeping with my father since December 2018, while my mother was getting her first round of chemo. They were engaged by June, married by September. By November, Sylvia's daughter Malene, 23, unemployed, 3 semesters away from a communications degree she'd never finish, had moved into my childhood bedroom. She needs family support right now, Dad explained, when I asked why my things had been boxed up and put in the garage. You're independent. You have your own apartment. I did have my own apartment. A 480-square-foot studio in Ridgewood that smelled like someone else's cooking and cost $1,850 a month. But it was mine. What wasn't mine anymore? The Hamptons house. My great-grandmother had built that house in 1952, white colonial with a wraparound porch overlooking 3 acres of wild beach grass and Atlantic Ocean. My mother had inherited it. I'd spent every summer there until I was 22. Mom's will had been clear. The house went to me. But on December 3rd, 2020, at 2:14 p.m., I got an email from my father's lawyer. Subject: Hampton property transfer. Complete. I called Dad immediately. What transfer? Oh, sweetheart, I meant to tell you. Sylvia helped me understand the tax implications of keeping the house in probate. We restructured everything to avoid estate penalties. It's still family property, don't worry. But it was supposed to come to me. And it will. Eventually. Right now, it makes more financial sense for it to be held in a family trust. Sylvia's name is on it too because, well, she's family now. Legal stuff. You wouldn't understand. I understood perfectly. I just didn't have proof yet. Over the next year, things disappeared. Small things at first. Mom's jewelry box. I moved it somewhere safe. Her recipe cards. I'm digitizing them. The photo albums from my childhood. Malene was reorganizing. She must have misplaced them. Then bigger things. Dad's retirement account. $450,000 that evaporated into new investments. His dental practice, suddenly saddled with debt. The life insurance payout from Mom's policy. $280,000 that went to medical bills. I asked questions. I was told I was paranoid, ungrateful, still grieving, and not thinking clearly. By December 2021, I'd stopped asking. I focused on work instead. Morton and Associates was a mid-tier accounting firm, but they had good training programs. I learned auditing. I learned forensic accounting. I learned how to spot the patterns people leave when they're hiding money. I got promoted in March 2022. Junior auditor. $48,000 a year. Then something happened that I didn't plan for. I got good. Really good. I worked a case tracking down embezzled funds for a pharmaceutical client. Found $1.2 million that 3 other firms had missed. The client was so impressed they introduced me to a private equity partner looking for someone who could audit acquisition targets. I met Marcus Chen in August 2022. He was building Apex Private Equity from the ground up, specializing in buying distressed companies and turning them around. He needed someone who could dig through corporate finances and find the truth. Most accountants tell me what's on the spreadsheets, Marcus said during my interview. I need someone who can tell me what's not on the spreadsheets. I showed him my pharmaceutical case notes. He hired me the next day. By December 2022, I'd helped Apex close 4 acquisitions. By June 2023, I was a partner. By December 2023, I owned 51% of the firm. Marcus wanted to retire. He had cancer, different kind than Mom, same ending. He sold me his shares for $800,000, which I financed through the firm itself. He died 4 months later, but not before telling me, "You have a gift for seeing what people try to hide. Don't waste it on other people's problems. Use it on your own." I didn't tell my family about Apex. Why would I? They thought I still worked at Morton and Associates, pushing papers for $42,000 a year. They'd stopped asking about my life somewhere around 2021. I let them think it. It was easier. But I didn't stop investigating the Hamptons house. I did it quietly. Pulled county records, mortgage documents, transfer deeds, cross-referenced dates with bank statements I wasn't supposed to have access to, but did anyway, because I knew which clerks to ask and which forms to file. The picture that emerged made my stomach turn. The house had been remortgaged 3 times between December 2020 and August 2023. $4 million in equity, extracted through forged signatures and power of attorney documents I'd never signed. The money had gone to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. From there, it split into 3 LLC accounts registered to Sylvia, Malene, and Jamal. Malene's husband, a business consultant who'd never consulted on anything except how to spend other people's money. But it wasn't just the house. Dad's retirement account had been drained through fake invoices from a medical billing company that didn't exist. His dental practice had been loaded with phantom debt through vendor contracts Sylvia had signed using his power of attorney. My father's net worth in 2020, $2.8 million. My father's net worth in 2024, negative $340,000. And the beautiful part, the part that made me want to scream, was that it was all legal, as long as those power of attorney documents were valid, which they weren't. I knew because I'd pulled the originals from the county clerk's office using an executive subpoena I'd gotten through Apex's legal team. I'd compared the signatures to documents I knew my father had actually signed. Different pressure points, different pen angles, different letter formations in the capital R of Richard. Someone had forged them. I was 98% certain it was Sylvia. I just needed her to prove it. The opportunity came on February 14th, 2024, Valentine's Day. I was at my office in Midtown, corner suite, floor-to-ceiling windows, executive assistant named Patricia who made sure I actually ate lunch, when I got a call from Malene. "Natalie, oh my God, I'm so glad I caught you. Are you still at that accounting place?" "I'm at work, yes." "Perfect. Listen, Jamal and I are starting a business. Wellness consulting. Very boutique. We need an investor, and Daddy suggested you might want to be involved. Ground floor opportunity. We're only asking family." "How much?" 15 million? I almost laughed. $15 million. I know it sounds like a lot, but we have a 5-year projection that shows. Where would I get $15 million, Malene? Well, we thought maybe your company could invest. Daddy mentioned you work for one of those corporate money places. There it was. They'd figured out I wasn't pushing papers anymore. Probably hired someone to run a background check. Found Apex. Found my name on the partnership documents. "I'll think about it," I said. "Amazing! Can you come to dinner Sunday? Daddy wants to discuss it." "Sunday works." I hung up and called my lawyer. "I need everything ready by Sunday." The next 3 days were a blur. Patricia coordinated with our forensic team. Our chief legal officer prepared affidavits. Our banking partner at JP Morgan Chase flagged the offshore accounts. Our FBI contact, because yes, Apex had enough government contracts to have an FBI contact, started building a wire fraud case. I didn't sleep much. Sunday came. February 18th. I drove to my father's house in Short Hills, the house he'd bought with Sylvia in 2021, the house that had a mortgage payment of $8,400 a month that I knew for a fact came from my mother's estate. Malene answered the door. "Natalie, come in, come in. Love your car. Is that a Honda?" "Mercedes," I said. "S-Class." She blinked. "Oh, nice." Sylvia was in the living room, arranging orchids. "Natalie, how unexpected. I thought you'd canceled." "I said I'd be here." "Did you? I must have misheard. Richard, your daughter's here." Dad came down the stairs. 62 years old, but looking 75. Gray, thin, tired in a way that had nothing to do with age and everything to do with 3 years of systematic financial abuse disguised as marriage. "Hey, sweetheart," he hugged me. He smelled like the same cologne he'd worn my entire life. I felt 7 years old and furious. We sat down to dinner. Jamal was there, scrolling his phone. Malene kept talking about the wellness business. We're thinking Bali for the retreat center. And Sylvia watched me with eyes like a hawk tracking a mouse. "So," Sylvia said, cutting into her salmon, "Malene tells us you're in a position to help with their venture." "That depends." "On what?" "On whether we're going to be honest with each other." The table went quiet. "Excuse me?" Sylvia's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. "The Hamptons house, the retirement account, Dad's practice debt, the offshore accounts, the forged power of attorney, all of it." My father's face went pale. "Natalie, what are you— I'm a forensic auditor, Dad. I find hidden money for a living. Did you really think I wouldn't look?" Sylvia laughed. It was a sharp, brittle sound. "Richard, your daughter has been watching too many crime shows. I have documents." "Documents." Sylvia set down her fork. "Of course you do. And I suppose you think these documents prove something?" "They prove you forged Dad's signature on 3 mortgage applications, 2 power of attorney transfers, and approximately 47 fraudulent vendor invoices over the past 4 years." Malene gasped. Jamal looked up from his phone. Sylvia smiled. That's a very serious accusation. Do you have any idea what happens to people who make false claims like that? Defamation lawsuits, criminal charges? You could lose everything. Could I? I pulled a folder from my bag. Because I'm pretty sure you're the one who's going to lose everything. I filed a report with the FBI on Friday: wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion. They're very interested in your Cayman accounts. You're bluffing. But her voice had changed, harder, sharper. Am I? I slid a document across the table. That's a forensic audit of every transaction tied to the Hamptons property. Notice the signature analysis on page 12. Notice the bank routing numbers that trace back to 3 LLC accounts registered in your name, Maline's name, and Jamal's name. My father picked up the document with shaking hands. Sylvia, what is this? It's nonsense. She's made this up because she's bitter about us being together. She's never accepted our marriage. The FBI doesn't investigate nonsense, I said. Neither does the IRS. They'll be contacting you both within the next 72 hours. Sylvia stood up. Get out of my house. It's not your house, I said quietly. It's purchased with funds embezzled from my father's retirement account. According to federal law, that makes it an asset subject to seizure. Get out! I stood, looked at my father. I'm sorry, Dad. I know you love her, but she's been stealing from you since the day you met. If you want to see the full audit, call me. If you want to protect her instead, that's your choice. But I'm done watching her destroy what Mom built. I walked out. 3 days later, the FBI showed up at their door with a warrant. But that's not the ending. That was just the beginning of the end. The real ending came 6 weeks later, on March 28th, my father's 62nd birthday. Sylvia had planned this dinner weeks before the FBI investigation started. Michelin-starred restaurant, private room, 14 family members, 2 business partners, and everyone who mattered in my father's social circle. She'd tried to cancel it after the investigation went public, but Dad insisted. I want my family together on my birthday. I almost didn't go. Patricia advised against it. They'll ambush you, she said. Make you the villain in front of everyone. Let them try. I wore a simple black dress, no jewelry. I arrived at 7:30 p.m. exactly, 15 minutes late on purpose. The room went silent when I walked in. Sylvia was at the head of the table next to my father. She was wearing my mother's diamond bracelet. She saw me notice it and smiled. Natalie, how generous of you to join us. I wasn't sure you'd show your face after spreading such vicious lies. I sat down in the only empty chair, between my Aunt Carol and a business partner I'd never met. Everyone, Sylvia raised her glass. I want to thank you for being here tonight, despite the very difficult circumstances Richard and I have been facing. As you know, we've been subjected to a coordinated campaign of harassment and false allegations by someone who should know better. She looked at me. Everyone looked at me. It's been devastating, she continued, to have your own stepdaughter accuse you of crimes you didn't commit, to see federal agents at your door because of fabricated evidence, to watch your reputation be destroyed by someone who can't let go of her grief. My Aunt Carol shifted uncomfortably beside me. But we're going to get through this, Sylvia said, because the truth always comes out. And the truth is, I love Richard. I've dedicated the past 4 years to building a life with him. And if that makes me guilty of something, then I suppose I'm guilty of love. She sat down. A few people clapped awkwardly. My father cleared his throat. Thank you, Sylvia, and thank you all for being here. I know this has been uncomfortable for everyone. Dad, I said. He didn't look at me. Natalie, I think it's best if we don't discuss this tonight. I'm not here to discuss it. I'm here to wish you happy birthday, and to give you your gift. I pulled an envelope from my purse and slid it across the table. Sylvia's eyes narrowed. What is that? Open it, Dad. He did. Inside was a single piece of paper, a forensic audit summary, and a check. What? He stared at the check. This is for $4 million. That's the equity from the Hamptons house, I said. The equity that was extracted through fraudulent mortgages. I bought the house from the bank last week. It's yours again, free and clear. The deed is being transferred back to the family trust Mom set up, just you and me, like it was supposed to be. Sylvia's face went white. And this, I pulled out another document, is a complete forensic audit of every financial transaction tied to your marriage. Bank accounts, mortgages, vendor invoices, tax returns. The FBI has the full version, but I thought you deserved to see it too. My father's hands were shaking as he read. Notice the highlighted sections, I said. Those are the forged signatures. Notice page 9. That's where Sylvia transferred $180,000 from your retirement account to an LLC registered to Malene. Notice page 14. That's where she used your dental practice credit line to pay for Jamal's car lease. These dates, Dad whispered. This is from 2019, before your mother died, yes. Sylvia has been planning this since before Mom's diagnosis. The room was completely silent. Sylvia stood up. This is a forgery, all of it. She's fabricated these documents because she's mentally unstable. Richard, you know this. Tell them. Tell them what? I said. That I'm a senior partner at Apex Private Equity? That I own 51% of a firm that manages $3.2 billion in assets? That I have a forensic accounting team and access to federal auditing tools that can trace every transaction you've ever made? I stood up, pulled a business card from my wallet, set it on the table next to my father's plate. That's my direct office line. You can call me tomorrow if you want to talk about the FBI investigation, or the civil lawsuit, or the IRS audit that's opening next week because you claim Dad's mortgage payments as medical deductions. I looked at Sylvia. You were right about one thing. I am nothing like you. I'm not a thief. I'm the person who catches thieves. I turned to leave. Wait, my father said, his voice cracked. You've had this money? This whole time? I've had the ability to help, I said. I've had the resources. What I didn't have was your permission to protect you from someone you chose to trust. I didn't know, he whispered, about any of this. The money, your company, I didn't know. You didn't ask. You saw what you wanted to see. A struggling daughter pushing papers. It was easier that way. Aunt Carol spoke up. Natalie, is this all true? The FBI investigation? Call the Newark field office. Ask for Agent Morrison. He'll confirm. One of Dad's business partners pulled out his phone, started typing. Sylvia grabbed her purse. This is absurd. I'm not staying here to be accused. Sit down, my father said. It was the first time I'd heard him use that tone in years. Richard, sit down. She sat. Dad looked at me, really looked at me for the first time since Mom died. You did all this? You bought back the house? Mom wanted me to have it, so yes, I bought it back. With your own money. With money I earned. From a company I built. From skills I learned because you stopped believing I had any. He flinched. I picked up my coat. Happy birthday, Dad. I hope it's everything you deserve. I walked out of Restaurant Jean Jour at 8:34 p.m. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I got in my car and drove home to my apartment in Tribeca, the one with the view of the Hudson River and the doorman who knew my name. Patricia had left a bottle of wine and a note on my counter. Proud of you, take tomorrow off. I didn't take tomorrow off. I had 3 acquisition audits to finalize, but I did pour the wine. The FBI arrested Sylvia 6 days later. Wire fraud, money laundering, identity theft, tax evasion. Malene was charged as an accessory. Jamal flipped on both of them in exchange for immunity. My father filed for divorce on April 15th. The civil lawsuit took 8 months. Sylvia was ordered to pay restitution of $2.4 million. She claimed she didn't have it. The court seized her assets anyway, including the house in Short Hills, which was sold to cover Dad's legal fees. I didn't ask for any of it. The FBI recovered most of the stolen funds through the offshore accounts. I had the Hamptons house transferred back to my name. Everything else went back to Dad. He called me in November. Can we talk? We met at a coffee shop in Greenwich Village, neutral territory. I'm sorry, he said, for all of it, for not seeing what she was, for not seeing what you'd become, for choosing comfort over truth. Okay. Is that all you're going to say? What do you want me to say, Dad? That it's fine? That I forgive you? I don't know if I do yet. He nodded. That's fair. We drank our coffee in silence. Can I ask you something? He said finally. When did you know? About Sylvia? I suspected from the beginning. I knew for sure in December 2021 when I pulled the first mortgage record, but I couldn't prove it until I had access to the forensic tools. Why didn't you tell me? Because you wouldn't have believed me. You needed to see the proof yourself. You needed to lose everything before you'd see what she was. I didn't lose everything, he said quietly. I still have you. Do you? We're working on it. Slowly. He comes to the Hamptons some weekends. We don't talk about Sylvia. We don't talk about Mom much either. Mostly we just exist in the same space trying to remember how to be father and daughter. It's not perfect. It might never be perfect. But it's honest. I'm 34 now. I own a company. I own a house my great-grandmother built. I have a black Centurion card and an executive assistant who makes sure I eat lunch. I've audited 17 major acquisitions this year. I've caught 4 more embezzlement schemes. I've taught 6 other women in finance how to spot the patterns I missed for so long. My mother's diamond bracelet is in a safety deposit box at JP Morgan Chase. I'm not ready to wear it yet. Maybe someday. If you've ever had to save someone from themselves, type "I saved them" in the comments. Or if you learned to walk away and let the consequences teach the lesson you couldn't, type "I walked away." Both take courage. Both leave scars. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here.